Good morning, and we're live again. It's Wednesday morning in Sydney, 10 a.m. I'm excited to be here. As you can hear, I have a bit of a cold, but hopefully you'll understand me. Hopefully the internet won't play up. I'm Christine Bell. I'm a customer strategist, and this is my Snappy Chats. This is all about talking to business owners and entrepreneurs about the challenges that we all face in our own business. Because guess what? If you start your own business, it is not an easy road for most of us. It's usually filled with many ups and many downs too. And it usually takes a lot longer to build a successful business that most of the gurus out there would like you to think that it does. So this is what I'm all about. This is about learning and growing together. This is what these Snappy Chats are about. And I'm super excited. I have a wonderful, wonderful guest today from America. She is the smartest, the most empathetic, the most gorgeous woman that you can possibly meet. So I'm going to introduce her shortly, Dr. Melissa Robinson-Winemiller. And she is amazing. She is an EQ and empathy coach, and that's a very new concept. So we'll be talking more about that in terms of how do we create a business around that. So with no further ado, I'm going to bring her on. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing fantastic. How are you down under?
I'm good. And Tommy's here. Thank you, Tommy. It's like Laos. I can't pronounce it. It's like, what is it, like 7 o'clock there now? 8, 9, 10, no, probably 6 a.m. Thank you for being here, Tommy. I'm
Yeah.
doing good in land down under. It's not raining today, so that's good news. Yeah, all good besides having a bit of a cold because it's winter here.
Yes. It's funny. Yeah, I mean, I know that like logically you guys are flipped seasons, but it's been so warm here. I see you sitting in a sweater and I'm just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, yeah, Laos is 7 a.m. Thanks, Tommy. Yes, no, it's a little bit colder, and the houses here are built for the heat, as in keeping the heat out, because usually we have very warm, long summers. So they're not really built for the winter, yeah. And the winter aren't really winters. If I come from Denmark, my husband comes from New York, New Jersey, so we don't have winters like that, but we still complain after so many years.
Well, of course.
You've got to complain about something. So tell us more about you because you're amazing. So tell me what you do, what you're all about, and everything you're an expert on, which is a long one.
Well, what I specifically do is I teach EQ via empathy. And this is a new concept. This is something that I've put together. So, hi Randy, how you doing? So, we were talking before about some of the challenges that this presents. And I mean, we'll get into that more later. But specifically, what I do is I help leaders learn how to tap into their EQ so that they can increase innovation, they can increase productivity, and they can actually increase profit. And the way I came to this is by having to deal with some really bad situations with leaders of my own. So it
Yeah.
was like either I can curl up in a ball and hate life and wonder, what I'm going to do next, or I can try and take some really horrible situations and try to turn it into something good. So that's what I'm doing.
I, I love what you do, and it's so needy. I think we also have Isabel here, and we also have Kelly, and we have Samia and Claudia as well. I can't see them all, but I can see that Randy's calling them out. So that's wonderful. So there's Belinda as well. So Randy, thank you for letting us know everyone who's here. I appreciate that. Um, yes, I hear you. And I was just going to say something, and now just I forgot what I was going to say. There was something came to mind. So let's just dive in. You talked about this challenge in business, yeah, because this is something that's, oh, now I know what I was going to say. In terms of this whole thing around teaching companies and why it's so important for innovation, because we have to collaborate, yeah.
Yes.
I'm actually teaching collaboration and innovation at the university right now. It's not just innovation, it's called collaboration and innovation, because guess what? If we want to be really innovative in business, it requires more than one brain. It requires us all to dig deep into the problems. It requires us to do great teamwork. And it
Yes.
usually requires a level of conflict, to be allowing ourselves to go to a level of conflict to be able to create something, because it takes us beyond what we were thinking about. We have to be challenged, yeah? But
Yeah.
that requires that we don't have a toxic environment, because if you add toxicity to that and ego to that,
Yep.
then collaboration goes out the door. At least healthy collaboration goes out the door. Is that correct?
Yes, that's absolutely correct. If you have a toxic environment and everybody's afraid to come forward with ideas because they're going to be demeaned or they're going to be put down or someone else is going to steal it, you lose all of that richness of collaboration and innovation. And that's a shame because people want to collaborate for the most part. There's always a few, but for the most part, they want to be part of something bigger than themselves.
Yeah. And understanding that it doesn't take away from their ability to add value. Just because it may not be exactly the idea we end up with, everyone plays an integral part in getting to a higher level of innovation.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Now,
I couldn't agree more.
talking back to your challenge in business, yeah, you're coming out with something that's so needed yet so new. So tell me about how that has impacted you in building your business, please.
Well, it's tricky when you're trying to come up with something brand new because you're spending as much time educating as you are actually trying to be in the business. So that's one of the reasons that I've really taken my time in trying to set up what this is. I actually have a book coming out in September so that I kind of have like a handbook or a manual, because you know how it is. And we were chatting about this briefly before the show, that if it's this completely brand new concept, then people are like, well, why do I need that? Well, you need that because you're dealing with the great resignation and what people are doing isn't working. You need that because you're dealing with quiet quitting and resenteeism and all these other isms, coffee badging and minimal Mondays and all of that. You're dealing with AI, which is taking the humanity out of the workplace in a lot of ways. So you need to bring more in, which is where the empathy via EQ concept comes in. Yeah, exactly. And
we need balance.
Yes, but people don't realize it. They don't realize that this is a solution, and for every company, it may not be the solution, but I can tell you that I've been running some low-key case studies. How's that? Is that a good way to put it? People that I work with are out in the field and they're doing what I suggest they do and they're reporting back. And I have someone who's managed to change the culture in 10 days. So
wow,
it works. Yeah. If it's
that is amazing. It's like minimal viable product testing and market research, which of course I love market research, and there's nothing better than qualitative research in terms of getting deep into what's going on, in terms of understanding the problems, in terms of seeing how people are integrating it into the work, and what a result 10 days. Yeah. So that's amazing. But like you said, people don't know what they don't know. They don't know they need it. And there might be other barriers in the way of them, even if they go, yeah, that could be useful. But if they have internal barriers,
yes,
and the team have internal barriers to open up to getting closer to who they are as a true person and as a true soul, then that's another barrier. Is that correct? Would you say?
Absolutely. And I actually run into this barrier all the time in upper leadership, because there's this idea that's out there. And if Izzy's in the audience, she's probably rolling her eyes right now because she's heard me say this so many times. But there's this idea that empathy makes you soft, that it's fluffy, that it's, Care Bears and hearts and rainbows and teddy bears. And nothing could be further from the truth. But when you have someone that's in a top position, that's in a CEO position, that's in a C-suite level kind of thing, they don't necessarily want to be seen as soft. And they want to be able to portray the strong, powerful, able leader. So I have to be able to educate on that as well, that this does not make you soft. It makes you a better leader. And that using empathy actionably to be able to tap into your EQ skills takes a lot of courage, because you have to be willing to step in and work with people one-on-one. You have to be vulnerable to them. The other thing is that people get this idea that empathy is this touchy-feely thing, and it's not in a business sense. If you're going to use this actionably, you're still there to make money, but you make it better if you go after it humanistically. And that's the thing.
Yeah. And it's interesting because a few years back, I ran a workshop for a startup company that scaled really fast. And the founders were really interested in me coming in running a workshop, which was partly empathy in terms of understanding your ideal customers, but it was with the sales team. So it was also about how they could establish rapport much faster and with empathy in terms of without getting in, because the industry they were in, they could easily end up in half an hour conversations with people who were wounded or had some issues because they came out of the military and had gone through some experiences. And that's what I was teaching. And one of the people actually said, he said, I cannot be empathetic. I don't know how to be empathetic. I can't learn it. And I don't know if that's true. So I was going to ask you. This guy was absolute shut down. No way. Can't feel empathy. Don't use that word with me. Compassion, wasn't keen on that one either. And it was like shut down.
So I'm actually hearing two different problems here. So as far as the learning, 95 to 98% of the population is born with some kind of empathy to some level. So they have an innate talent for it, for the most part. So the trick isn't really learning empathy. The trick is practicing empathy.
But if you don't want to practice.
But you can practice it. It's there. Now, the problem is what I'm hearing with the person you're talking about is, so in adult learning, right? And you're a teacher, so you get this. There's two things that have to exist before learning can happen. The first is there has to be an awareness that there is a knowledge gap. Whoever it is has to say, oh yeah, I don't get this. So, because if you have someone that already knows everything about everything, you can't teach them anything. So that awareness has to exist. But the second thing that has to be there is a desire. And that desire has to be great enough to leap that knowledge gap. So it sounds like the person you're with, even if they had the awareness, which I'm not sure, it kind of sounds like they're aware, but they're in denial. They didn't have the desire. So they weren't going to learn.
Very good point. Randy's just asking here, if you have not experienced what someone else has experienced, how can you have empathy? And that was the exact same point this guy made. I haven't had that experience, so how can I have empathy? But I was like, well, you've had other experiences, because this guy was actually in a wheelchair because of a situation, an accident that happened in the military. I said, so you have other experiences in terms of feeling into what it could be like to have something go wrong in your life. But I'll let you answer Randy's question, please.
Well, you answered it perfectly, because with empathy, you're not experiencing the experience, you're experiencing the emotion. So maybe the person you're talking to's grandmother has just died, and you haven't necessarily had that kind of grief in your life, but you've experienced loss of something on some level. Maybe it's a loss of a job. Maybe it's a loss of a pet, where relatively speaking, we've all experienced loss. So it isn't about the experience necessarily. It's about the emotion.
And that's a key thing, is allowing ourselves to feel emotions, and also being able to pinpoint the emotion and actually put what is this emotion? Because often I think what happened is a lot of us has been taught from young age. Mike is here in the house. Mike and Asher Brown, and the leader of the House of Business Community. I always forget the business part, but it is a business community, also friendship community. He's in the house, so thank you for being here, Mike. And a great shout out to the House of Business Community. Is a great group, and I met you through there. Now, of course, I'm going to forget what I said, but it's back to the emotion in terms of understanding the emotion. But I think a lot of us has been brought up in terms of suppressing emotions, to the point that when emotion comes up, we don't even know how to label it, let alone be comfortable feeling it. So we try to repress it again, or we try to use all sorts of different things we go and learn and teach us that will motivational, that will get us out of feeling bad and straight into positive thinking. And it's like, but you just forgot to actually feel through that wound that you had from childhood, which is an emotion that you don't want to recognize.
Yes, which is precisely why empathy takes strength and courage. So this idea that it's soft, no way. It takes strength and courage to be able to walk into that, knowing full well that what you're going to feel is uncomfortable. So that's absolutely true. And that's also the reason why with my clients, the first thing we talk about is self-reflection. So a lot of these people that are in these high-level positions don't know how to handle their own emotions. And they don't have to be high level. I mean, it is societal. I think you're right. But you've got to learn to feel empathy for yourself first. If these are these hard charging business type people, don't stop, expect the world, just going at it 24/7, and they don't give themselves
suck it up attitude. Just suck it up and get on with it.
Yeah, exactly. And if that's how they treat themselves, why would they treat anybody else differently?
And it often comes with that every man for himself attitude, Yeah. Because if we can't have empathy for ourselves or feel our own feelings, how on earth can we start wanting to bring everyone on board and have time for them, like you just said,
Exactly.
So this is a huge job that you got on your hand. It's such a needed thing in all businesses, I would say, to some degree, some a lot, some to some extent, but your services are definitely needed. So in terms of then back to your challenge, how do we overcome this thing of having to constantly educate and constantly, you know, try and teach people what you're all about? How do you go about it? Because it's not an easy task.
No, it's not. And right now, I'm just trying to be as visible as possible. I figure this is just one of those things that just is going to take time. And once people get it, they really, I mean, the people that I've explained it to and the people who do get it are starved for it. And it isn't just top level managers, it's middle level managers, it's aspiring managers, leaders of all kind. So once it gets out there, people grab onto it really fast. Okay. And like I said, that's also the reason I wrote my book, because the thing is I can only be in so many places at so many times talking. But when you have a book like that, you never know where it's going to end up. You never know how it's going to circulate. So I'm hoping it'll.
Very true. Very true. And it's not that there isn't plenty of businesses who need it. It's just a matter of whether they realize it. Yeah.
Right.
And finding the ones that realize it, who are open to it. And then it becomes both a top-down approach and also a bottom-up approach, because everyone has to agree to it. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. But once that culture comes down, it makes it so much easier. And I've actually had a lot of success for people in like middle management positions where they're managing down and managing up. And it's actually showing that it works. So
yeah, so huge challenge, and so important to do this and to come out with your offer and to start changing businesses, because there are so many businesses where people, like you said, they are the great resignation, or we stay for a couple of years, 1 year, 2 years, as long as we can cope with it. Then we go down personally before and burn out before we're ready for another job. So it's just like this evil or unhealthy cycle. Not evil, but unhealthy cycle, I should say.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I think I'm having better luck with the middle managers, because they're not so set in their ways. They're not so, this is how we've always done it, so we're going to do it like this. And they're a little more open to these different ideas.
And is it also, and you can tell me from your experience and research, is it also because middle management have still at a place where they're still feeling it, copying it from the top potentially? So they're in a position where they are copying it, and they want to do better for the people underneath them.
Yes, I think that's a big part of it. And I think an even bigger part of it is that it's generational. The people that are in those middle manager positions tend to be millennials or some of the younger Gen X. And they're the ones that are like, I don't want to do what I saw my parents do and what I've seen the people before me do. We can do better.
Yeah, they want to change the world.
Yes.
And they can. If we collaborate, we all have the opportunity to change the world, but we got to unite and we got to collaborate, and we got to appreciate that we don't think the same way. We don't have the same skills and strength, but together we do have everything we need to make it change.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's a huge thing for everyone to get. Yeah.
Yes, it is. But if they get it, I mean, just to get a hold of that, that's the drop the mic moment. There's nothing else to add to that.
And then it comes back to collaboration. So not only do you have to teach them empathy, you also have to change the way they perceive collaboration potentially, and how they approach conflict management.
Yes, but going into it with an understanding, because empathy, the weird thing I'm finding is that it isn't a one-way thing. Empathy works best when it works in both directions. So if you're walking into a group to collaborate and already you've got that, I'm going to listen to what you have to say and you're going to understand I'm coming at this with the best of intentions. And within the group, there's this kind of synergy happening. Your chances of successful collaboration and being able to solve conflicts goes way up, because now we're relating on a human level.
And now you're talking about psychological safety, in a group, that not only do we have to approach it with an open heart, an open mind, we also have to assume the best of the other people in the group, and not all of them have necessarily the best intentions. They might still be learning, but we have to assume that at least until otherwise proven. And when it does show that they're not necessarily have the best intentions, what do you do?
Well, in that case, usually from what I've seen, it's usually more a case of cluelessness than
Okay.
maliciousness. Most people, I think, mean well. If you get that 2 to 5% that have no empathy, that dark triad, and they really are ill-intended, the best thing you can do is try to get them out. And it's a very, very small percentage, but they do exist.
Yeah, we just totally. And I just want to ask about that as well. I just have someone say, I can't see who it is. I work with and real-time coach all levels of leaders and find that the core is trust that is needed for any change to take place. Good point around trust. How do we build trust?
Trust is built over time. When you back up your words with actions and it's consistent, you build trust. So unfortunately, if I'm walking into a situation where somebody has destroyed trust by being untrustworthy, that's much harder situation to change. But they can build it back over time by proving their words and their actions align. It just takes time.
And it means that person specifically who had broken trust, I'm assuming, do you then need to have one-on-ones with them and then really work on them to see if they, and often this might be the boss actually, yeah?
Yeah, that's the problem.
So what do we do then? Do you just say you guys got to run for it? Like this ain't going to change?
I am very grateful that I haven't actually run into that situation yet because they are out there. So if we're talking dark triad personalities, right? Machiavellianism.
Tell us a little bit more about what that is, in case anyone doesn't know.
Okay, well, I'll keep this short because this is like a whole nother thing. So,
but you got a book coming out. You got plenty of books. Look up all your books, and we can all read up. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. No, this could be like many books in itself. Dark triad personalities, by definition, don't have any empathy. So that's why I study them, because this is what it looks like if you don't have it at all. And specifically, they're the Machiavellianists. I'm sorry, my tongue is just not working tonight. Psychopaths and sociopaths, who also are very popular in society right now, and narcissists.
Yeah,
so the thing
usually
is,
high professions often at the highest level, because often even a psychopath can be very, very friendly and
exactly.
can be they're smart people. They learn how to mimic empathy sometimes too. Yeah.
Yes.
And they're very ruthless in how they get to the top. And often it's behind you don't see exactly how they operate. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And that's the problem. Even though they're only 2 to 5% of normal population, they figure it could be 20 to maybe even 25% in high level positions, government, and big cities. So
yeah.
I
think we've been seeing it playing out in the last few years everywhere. If you pay attention and you have a critical mind, you go, something is up here.
Yes. Yeah, you can't miss it.
No, it's playing out completely. So there's a whole thing around society right now that we need to shift. And that's where you come in, yeah? So you got a huge why, yeah? Tell me your why. I think you already did, but what's your biggest why here? What are we changing here?
The biggest thing is just that right now our society can't continue the way it is because we're destroying ourselves from within with this behavior. So if it continues, I mean, they're even saying that that this dark triad personality, the rates may be on the rise. So if we don't get this fixed, we're going to rip our society apart from the inside out.
Yeah.
Corporations are going to be the least of our worries.
Yeah, because does it start at home? Does it actually start at home in terms of is it actually a situation at home in terms of how we bring up our children right now?
That's a big part of it. And social media and being involved with this stuff where it's very self-centered. I don't know if you ever heard of the author Jean Twenge. She talked about the iGen generation, and she specifically looks at technology and how that's affected each generation. And she's actually noticed a rise in the amount of narcissists, and she traces it right back to the technology and especially the social media, because these younger people get the idea that they are the only one, they are the focus, they are, the ones getting the likes and the dopamine hits, and it's affecting our society.
And a lot of these children who grew up on technology, my beautiful nephew who is 23 now, beautiful, gorgeous young man, he started, and I'm not blaming anyone, but, I'm saying a lot of the kids started when they were 3 years old on technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a
And the
lot of
spirit,
these game things they're playing, it's violent games. It gets normalized, all this violence, yeah, through technology.
yep. And they're called first person shooter games for a reason. You are first person. You are looking through that person's eyes, and you start to get this idea that this is what life is like, even though it's not. And the thing is, I don't know about Australia, but in the United States, it's illegal to have a social media account if you're under 14, but nobody's policing this. We have the laws in place, just nobody's following them.
Yeah, and I guess it comes in, then now there comes bigger laws into place and all this stuff. But I hear what you're saying, and it's definitely in terms of, I think we're getting desensitized, and once we get desensitized, then the empathy, you tell me you're the expert, goes down a bit. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Studies back all of this up. See, that's the thing. I don't give just an opinion. Anything I say, I've backed it up with studies. I'm actually doing my dissertation on empathy and leadership. So this isn't an opinion. These are statistics and research.
And I highly recommend everyone reaches out to you to learn more. This is a topic, and it's actually 26 past now, so we will finish up now. But I could talk about this forever, because I have had so many narcissistic, well, people, I shouldn't say, because I can't diagnose. I have had people with different levels of narcissistic traits in my life, my whole life, yeah.
Yeah.
And as an empath, you try, as a child, you start going, weaving, you try to change and mimic and kind of work your way around these types of personalities, so they don't, so you stay safe, so you stay part of the group, that you don't get excluded or kicked out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's absolutely
it's
right.
a big, huge learning. So I could talk to you forever, and maybe we have to have another chat on live. But before we go now, thank you to everyone here. We had a huge crowd here today. Sharon, Sierra, Mike, Randy, Dr. New, and plenty more people. So thank you for being here. Please tell us a little bit more about how people can find you. Tell us about the book that's coming out and anything else you have coming up. We'd love to hear it.
Absolutely. So you can always catch me on LinkedIn. You can DM me there, or at my website, which is EQ via empathy, which is what I call what I teach. It's EQ via empathy. And you can also catch me at where my book is. I have the pre-sale going right now. It's the Stan Store. So it's STAN.store/empathic leader. And the pre-sale is up. It won't actually be out until September. But if you order early, there is a discount, and I will autograph the copy. And if you just can't get enough, I have a YouTube channel as well. And I'm always looking for subscribers for that, because that's where I get to actually flesh out my ideas and trial run some of this stuff and be able to talk about it. Because, you take in all this information, but then being able to actually present it is a whole different thing. So I'd love to have more subscribers for my YouTube channel.
Definitely. And it's your name. We can find you with the name. What's your YouTube? You put it in the comments afterwards. Put the link to YouTube in the comments afterwards.
You got it. It's Empathic Leader, but I'll put it in there.
Perfect. Because I also got only like 16 or something subscribed on YouTube, but it's a great channel for actually building your brand when you want to do longer videos and actually really add value through real educational stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
It just takes a bit of time to build that brand, but it's so important that you do that. So I'll definitely check you out. And if I haven't already subscribed, I'll be your next subscriber.
Excellent. And I will do the same for yours.
Thank you so much. Now we're just going to finish up. Thank you, everyone who is here. Mike says I get the first book copy. Yay. So he's excited for that. Randy, thanks for being here. And everyone else who is here, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being here. You're amazing. And I keep talking to you. So I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This has been fantastic.
Oh, it's always fun to chat. So thank you. Take care, everyone. I'll just stop it now, because otherwise I'll just